activity based costing. Now let me also again um, reiterate the idea that I said, that when you have traditional costing, we use a single overhead rate to distribute the overhead to each product. However, under activity based costing, we have to find multiple rates. That means each activity has its own rate. So when a product uses that activity, then we distribute the rate. But at the moment, if it doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. That's why we are here in this video. So let me explain some terms. First, what do we mean by an activity? So activity again means things that you are doing, like ordering, like we talked about, inspection, machine setup, packaging, like maintenance, and all of the other things that go along with that. So let me copy it from where we already discussed the activities that you might see. But we also have to understand something called cost driver. What is the concept of cost driver? Now, cost driver is something that directly affects a individual cost. Now, for example, obviously we can say ordering cost is affected by the number of orders you place, right? So we can say for ordering activity, cost driver will be number of orders, because the more number of orders you place, the more ordering cost you will have to pay. If you don't place any order, then there's no ordering cost. Similarly, for inspection, if we think about it, which let's say variable drives inspection? Of course, number of inspection hours. If I do more hours of inspection, I have to pay more money in inspection. So this will be number of inspection hours. Machine setup, okay? So this will be number of machine setups. And if you don't know what machine setup means, let me explain. You don't need to know this, but I always like to go things in a very logical way. So let's take a company like Coca-Cola, right? So what they will do is they will make Coca-Cola, right, in a batch, and then before making the second batch of Coca-Cola, they will have to clean the machine, right? Then they can do the second batch. That cleaning of the machine to get it ready for the next batch is called machine setup. So number of machine setups is a very good way to distribute the machine setup cost. Packaging might be number of plastic meters used, number of plastics of meter used. Yeah, so like anything that logically directly relates to the cost. So here I'll say, let's say meters of plastic used. So obviously if the product is using more plastic in packaging, it should bear most of the cost. So that's the introduction to what we mean by activity and what do we mean by cost driver. Now let's break this down into what will I do in activity-based costing. So in activity-based costing, the problem is again the same that we had in traditional costing, which is direct material and direct labor. We always know what they are. Here also we will know always what they are. The problem will be how do we distribute the overhead. In the traditional costing, we find the single rate and multiply the single rate by allocation base actually used. But in activity-based costing, we will calculate multiple rates. For each activity, we'll find a separate rate and then multiply each rate by their use individually. So let me show you step by step. So if I go to my, let's say, format here that I made for you in traditional costing, right? Find a single rate and then multiply single rate. But here, if I change it for activity-based costing, it will no longer be calculate the single rate. It will be calculate the activity rates. Calculate all of the activity rates. That's the first step. What do we mean by activity rate? Activity rate means take the activity cost. How much means how much money we spend on doing that specific task. Let me erase the extra line. Okay, divided by the activity cost driver. So just to give you an example, this will mean the total money we spent on ordering divided by total number of orders we placed. So we can find per order cost. That's called a rate, right? Find per order cost in this case.